She is completely unexplainable. You think she's a good girl, but once you get to know her, you realize she's everything. She's crazy, she's funny, she's honest, and you never know what she'll do next.
Yay! Okay, we're back. We're back, and thank you for coming back with me. I'm Tracy Bush Pate. This is my podcast, Being Tracy. Being Tracy is about real life. I can't be anybody else. I can only be Tracy. It's inspiration, funny things, success stories, dating, relationships, and then we even touch on real estate before we turn off the camera at the end. So anyway, I just want to go ahead and touch on something I don't even think I mentioned on the last podcast because I hate talking about it. I'm still hacked. Being Tracy on Facebook is still hacked. I was reaching over 6 million or 7 million there, and I had 44,000 followers. Now I'm down to 38,000 followers or 39,000, but please keep following me there. I talked to Facebook yesterday. I do have command of that page, but for some reason they're not letting me do anything on it yet. So anyway, I just talked to someone else who lost her page a couple days before me. She got her page back after 2 months. That's what I told you it took me last year, 2 months to get it back. So I expect to be getting it back very soon. It's just already been over a month. And so anyway, but I want to introduce my esteemed guest. Here's a good friend of mine, and he's someone that I always reach out to when in need of law advice, okay? This is Andrew Kassier, and he's a very good friend of mine. And Andrew is kind of my go-to whenever I need to find out what's going on, what are the meaning of these things that people are doing. Andrew, why are these things happening to me and to people that I know? Andrew always has the answers. So, Andrew, good morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you again, Tracy.
Nice to see you again. Anyway, so how did we meet? That's always a good way to begin. How did we meet, Andrew?
My law office is in Coral Gables, even though I now live up in Coral Springs. And there's a very popular restaurant called Booyah. And a mutual friend of ours, who I think has been on your podcast.
Yeah, Randy Shannon.
Randy Shannon.
I just had her last week.
Right, the naturopath. She was in a group of friends that were there, and she contacted me one day and said, these people all have legal questions, and they keep asking me if I know a lawyer. I think you could do really well advising these people and maybe get business. So I went to Booyah. That was back in 2018. And it's been a gold mine, both it's been a gold mine in two ways. Professionally, I've gotten a lot of clients from there and still do, but I've also met a great group of people, and you were among that group of people.
And I'm so honored to be one of your good friends. Now, how long have you been in law, Andrew?
I started practicing in 1981.
1981. Now, I heard a story about you meeting your wife in law school. You want to share that with us real quick? Just the Cliff Notes?
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting situation.
And your wife, she's very esteemed in law as well.
Yes,
so I want to.
She's a retired general magistrate and is well known in the court system. We both grew up in New York. We both grew up in the same county, Queens County, but of course there's millions of people there, so we didn't know each other. I came down to law school the year before she did, and I was a big bowler in New York. I love bowling, and I think you do too.
Well.
So I came down to law school, and I needed some recreation, so I went to join the bowling league, and I was told that the law school didn't have one, but that I could join the undergraduate league.
Okay.
Which I did, and I made great friends there. The next year, my wife comes down, same situation. She wants to join the law school bowling league. She finds out there is none, so she starts one.
I love your wife.
And that's
She's
the
awesome.
difference between
my
me and her.
kind of person.
Yes,
my
exactly.
kind of person. No league. I'm starting my own.
That's exactly what she did.
Well, great. Now, listen, I always reach out to you for every kind of law that I come across. But what kind of law do you like to work in the most? What is your...
Overall, I'd say in my career, it's probably what I started doing first, which is appeals. I was trained in the public defender's office in Dade County to do criminal appeals. But the appellate appeals that you do, you can do them in criminal, civil, appeals from administrative agencies, family, and I still do, after all these years, I still love doing appeals. Also, I do a lot of commercial litigation. I love litigation, meaning I love doing trials. I don't like writing contracts if I don't have to.
Right.
And a lot of family law. and a little bit of probate law, wills, trusts, things like that. But appeals is what I really love.
Now, do you have any crazy law stories you can share with us just real quick?
Well, I've got one real
What's
quick.
the craziest one?
Well, it was about a client that I didn't accept as a client.
Okay.
A guy comes to me, this goes back maybe 4 or 5 years. He comes to me, and right off the bat, he tells me that he wants a divorce, which is fine.
Sure.
Lots of people get divorced.
Some people get divorced.
And before I said another word, he said to me, I don't care how much it costs me. I'll pay you whatever you charge me. May I use the B word, the 5-letter one?
Sure, you can use whatever you want.
Okay.
This is Being Tracy.
He says, I asked him some basic questions like, is there property to divide up? Yes. Are there kids? Yes. He says, I don't care what your fee is. I'll pay you whatever you want. I just don't want that bitch to get a dime.
Okay.
And I said to him, well,
common.
unfortunately, that's not what the law says, so I don't think we're going to have a professional relationship
Right.
here. Have a nice day.
Right. Okay. Now, with that being said, I know the human side of you. I know that you recently just rescued a kitten off the street. This is the kind of lawyer we have here. Really tough guy, tough as nails. Rescued a kitten off the street.
From the middle of a highway.
And is that still your kitten now?
Weston is hanging out in my room. I don't know. I don't know if he's into podcasts, but he's my legal assistant.
And so I was going to ask you, how do you give back besides that? Besides rescuing animals off the street, stopping traffic?
There's a part of me that, I mean, obviously this is my business, so
Right.
I need to charge fees, but very often I'll look to do work where I'm not going to charge the client anything in legal terms. That's called doing pro bono work. I volunteer my time. I do a lot of consultations with clients that I don't charge them just to give them legal advice. So that's basically how I give back.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Well, listen, I always like to read a blog that I wrote.
Sure.
You know, I used to write blogs when I lived in South Beach, right?
Yes.
And this blog particularly, I wrote March 13th of 2018, so it's many years ago.
Okay.
And it answers a very important question. And it was one of my most read blogs, I realized yesterday when I was looking at it.
Right.
And it answers the question, divorce.
Okay.
Would you do it again? And I know you're happily married for how many years?
Well, most of them happily. I'm teasing. In 2 weeks, it will be 41 years.
41 years. Okay, well, that's awesome. Well, my parents were together 50. My mom passed many years ago, but he's remarried again now, too. So it would have been about 50. So anyway,
It's that blog time.
Oh, it's blog time. I don't remember what I'm supposed to do. I don't remember what my signal is for the blog. Do I have a signal?
Say.
Blog. No, that's the real estate.
That's the real estate. I come in and I say, it's blog
it's
time.
exactly-
It's him. There we go. Okay.
Okay, we've only had a few podcasts going
okay.
yet, so we're still fine tuning things, right? That's fine. So anyway, this is the question: divorce? Would you do it again? Okay, I get this question a lot, especially right after someone asks me what went wrong. Did he cheat on you? No. Did you cheat on him? No. Just, I guess we were both at a place in our relationship where we had stopped growing together. 17 years living together, 19 years total married. And I've been listening to podcasts and things this morning about what happens to make divorce the only solution. And what I found was that it's disconnection. And what you need to stay focused on is, what does my partner do so I can feel their love? Or what do I do so my partner can feel my love? Okay, but that wasn't in my marriage anymore. And now, too many years later, I'm reading these podcasts and trying to figure out what I should have done. But anyway, so just so you know, this is my stance on divorce, and also dating divorced men who call themselves separated. Okay, this is where I'm at on this. I figure I got a divorce, so anybody that I'm going to go out with at this point needs to be divorced as well. Okay, so now I've always said, no, I have never wished we had gotten divorced, but I am happier now. And these last couple weeks since my ex got married on Valentine's Day, this was like 5 years ago, I've really been thinking a lot about this. You can never go back and change the decisions that you made. We are both very different people right now, very different. And the blessing is now that my 4 girls not only have a stepmother, but also a stepbrother to love. All right. So, but in the beginning, if I knew what I knew now about single life, how hard it really is to find exactly what you're looking for. I have been single at this time. At this time I wrote it was 10 years. And I must have been 2 years off. It must have been 8 years because I just asked my family again today how long it's been since I've been divorced. And they said 13 because my oldest daughter was 17 when I got a divorce. She said it's been 13 because now she's 30. And I've had no real connection nor viable love interest lasting more than 1 or 2 months at that time that I wrote this. And I'd only had 4 of those that lasted 1 or 2 months. And now, 13 years later, I've had 2 relationships, which were the longest. I would say they both lasted about a year, and I didn't feel like it was what I'm looking for. I wasn't sure it was monogamous. On my side, it was. But you know what? That's what you get into when you give up being married to your partner and the father or the mother of your kids. You are now putting yourself out into all the people that have been hurt before. Okay, so that's what I had done. So each of my 4 daughters has struggles that I wonder if they would have those if their father and I had stayed together. At this point, knowing everything that I know now about how easy it is not to find someone who is exactly what you're looking for, with common goals and desires, and how little everyone wants to settle for less at this time in our lives, second or more times around, I can definitely tell you that if I were still married, or if you are still married, work on it, okay? It is very hard to live this life alone, okay? Especially after you've been in a long marriage. Okay, which I was married 17 years. You've just said that you were married many years too. So I'm sure that you've had ups and downs in your marriage as well, right, Andrew?
Yes, absolutely. And I think the advice you're giving is a good one. I mean, there are some marriages that are just over with. And I'm not even talking about ones where one partner or the other was unfaithful. Sometimes a relationship just gets to the point where the people can't communicate at all, and even if they try to enlist the aid of a counselor or a therapist or even like a good friend they can both trust, some people just, they can't coexist anymore. But more often than not, listen, life has ups and downs, and one of my favorite expressions has a place dealing with people that are having marital problems, which is life is 20% of what happens to us and 80% of how we react to it. I don't know anybody really that has ever been married without a single bump in the road, a single problem,
Of course
financial problems if they want to have kids, not being able to have kids. It's like any other relationship. People that are business partners and work side by side, they don't live happily ever after either. Mm-hmm. The question is, when you do come to those problems, how do you resolve them? And I think what you just said a little while ago is very, very correct, and it's very, don't get all foo-foo on me, but very observant and very good observation, that more often than not, staying in a relationship is worth it because you don't know what's going to happen afterwards. And most of my friends that have gotten divorced, people that I know, I wouldn't say most, but a good number of them, the single life wasn't all it's cracked up to be.
Well, that's what I'm here to talk about today, okay? So every night when I go home to bed, I go home alone. I go to sleep alone, and I wake in the middle of the night alone. I go out to my balcony in the morning and have coffee alone. So take it from someone who has been there and done that. I don't recommend divorce. My sister would say, that is the devil on your shoulder telling you that, Jacqueline. Work at it. Go to counseling. Talk. Find out what your partner needs to be happy, because it is never going to be easier to find a new one, especially if you have kids together. My oldest daughter once said, don't stay together for the kids because I've never seen my mom happier than she is now. So happiness is a choice. And as happy as I am today, 13 years later, I would sure rather have a constant someone in my life. So when I wrote this blog, this is what I wrote. Here I posted a picture of myself. I'm not showing you my pictures. I couldn't be sending all these pictures to Ben to have him uploading them, but I kind of figure I could tell you about it. I posted a picture of myself on this blog on Valentine's Day 2018, eating a chocolate man that my daughters gave me before heading off to their father's wedding. I am so blessed to have had 4 beautiful, smart, funny daughters. I have thought to myself that as hard as it has been for me to find a replacement, that it was sure a blessing that I got married the first time when I did. And the best thing in my life right now for sure is them. And I hope and pray and visualize the perfect someone for me finds me soon, for I only wish for someone to find me who makes me want to be a better person. Okay, and I think it's really important as well at this point right now to mention a decision that I made when I first, we made the decision to divorce, was not to badmouth the dad, because that's part of your kids. So if you do go through all this and you decide, nope, that's it, like I did after 17 years of marriage, I said, nope, this isn't what I want. I want to change. I want to change. And you know what? I make sudden decisions all the time, and I very rarely turn back on them. And I'm not saying I made the wrong decision, but I'm just saying if you're going to do it, stick with your decision, and remember, your kids are part of that partner.
Tracy, I'll tell you something very interesting. Whether I am the attorney in a divorce that drafts the settlement agreement or it's the other lawyer, I have never been involved in a divorce where in the contract, in the settlement agreement that my client signs, there's something called a non-disparagement clause. And that's exactly why it's there. As part of the agreement to get married, to get divorced,
Right.
You're not just dividing up the property, and you're not just deciding when dad gets to visit the kids, if the kids are going to spend most of the time with mom. You also want to ensure that neither parent badmouths the other, because
Right.
the kids are not responsible for the divorce.
Right.
They're always, to a lesser extent or a greater extent, victims of the divorce. They want two parents, and guess what? They're entitled to two parents. They don't
Yes,
have to have
exactly.
two parents that still live together, but they're entitled to a healthy relationship with mom and dad.
Exactly. And if your spouse, then after you are going through a divorce or whatever, what if he goes out and finds someone new? Because that's probably what's going to happen. You need to also remember this new person that's in the relationship now is part of your kid's life. And what I did right from the start was I tried to make friends with this woman, and at first it wasn't easy, but I went ahead and got her a Massage Envy gift certificate 1 year in the beginning, and just sent it to her and said, thank you for the mother that you are to my kids. Because I see that. I mean, she is part of my kids' life now, and I want my kids to have the best. And I honestly say this now in our defense, my kids all have boyfriends now, all right? Age 30, 28, 26, 24. I think that's pretty good. I think that says a lot. If your kids can go on and have a relationship after yours failed, what do you think, Andrew?
I know a lot of my friends that are children of divorced parents, and a lot of them said,
They can't go on.
No, because they saw what mom and dad were doing to each other, and they said, I don't want to bring that into my life.
Exactly. I mean, I see that too all the time. And so I that's something that needs to be remembered as well. And so then as life would have it, okay, so I told you about my date last time. I know Ben loves it when I talk about my dates here. And I told you about my date last time. I had a great date. I don't know if I told you. After our date, he left for like 3 weeks to go visit his properties in Arizona. And I haven't heard from him since. Okay, so that's the way dating is now, girls. I knew this guy for 8 years, reconnected, had a nice date, nice conversation, out of sight, out of mind, right? So he's out of sight, out of mind. Then I'm out this past weekend. I wasn't even going to go out. It was Thursday night. And a girlfriend called me and asked me to meet her out. And I was just like, I've been working, I'm not planning on doing anything. And then she kind of talked me into it. She talked me into going out. So we met for drinks first at Ruth Chris over here in Meisner Park. And then the next thing we did was we went out. And while we were out, this is the funny thing. I was just telling Ben, I think I'm becoming an empath because I am making like these things happen to me that either, I'm bringing people into my life that can enrich my life, or God is just taking them out, but teaching me a lesson as well. And so this amazingly handsome, I thought, man showed up behind me. We were sitting at the bar and orders a tequila, which I love tequila, and then says he's going to get me and my girlfriend one. And so he goes and sits down, and then I said to the bartender, I said, what about this guy? I said, is he married? I saw a girl that was with him. It looked like they were together. Then she said, no, he doesn't have a girlfriend. He's not married, So anyway, I had put up a post last week on Facebook that said, and people responded to it and said, sometimes men don't act if they like you. Sometimes they won't act. So I went over to him and I said, hey, you said you're going to buy us a drink. And the bartender that's my girlfriend had gone over there too and sent us, so he sent us a couple of drinks. But I said, why don't you come over and drink it with us? So he came over there, nice conversation, exactly what I thought I wanted in a man. And then a little bit later, he mentions he's married. He's separated for 9 years. 9 years. Said he just broke up with his girlfriend that he had for 3 years. Okay, I mean, like, you can imagine I'm like, my thought has always been, well, look, I got a divorce. Any guy I'm going to be with's got to get a divorce. But now all of a sudden I'm seeing this man that appears to be exactly what I want.
Right.
Well, now I got to reevaluate what am I doing here?
Well, did you ask why he's still separated after 9 years? Usually people, if they're not getting back together.
It's because of the kids. It's because of the kids.
Okay.
The kids were going through something. I'm not going to get into too much detail because I don't want to draw any attention to anybody.
Right.
But the kids were going through something, and that's the reason that they're not yet. And he had said maybe by now they could. That's what he said. But listen, okay, so we went out to dinner. Then he invites me out to dinner. I mean, for me, it's late dinner. It's like 8:30 at night. And we go out to dinner. We had a great time. He brought me home to where I live, got out of the car, opened up the car door for me, gentleman, perfect gentleman. I was like, wow, that was really nice, And so then we had plans on Sunday, and then he called me right away in the morning, as he said he would, but said his mom called him, and he needed to do something with her because she was all upset about all that stuff that happened in Israel, because they're from, they've got family over there.
Right, of course.
So anyway, he spent the day with her, but he I swear he called me about 7 times, touching base with me, letting me know we still had plans, we were still going to see each other, all the way through the day, so that I tied me up for the whole day, really, which I did have work to do. So I was able to go to church. I went and showed a property, working in bed, and then by the end of the day, it's like 7 o'clock. Last phone call he made to me was 7 o'clock, and he said, hey, I'm just going to the grocery now, and I'll give you a call when I get home. And I'm like, well, he had talked about dinner, so I'm like, are we going to do dinner? Because I was looking forward to getting with him, talking to him, and getting these questions answered. Like, whoa, you are still married, but what does this mean? What are as someone said to me, one of my friends said, you need to find out what his intentions are. What are his intentions? He's still married. He's been married for 9 years. It doesn't sound like he's going to get a divorce. So anyway, but with that, we talked a few times throughout the day, like I said, but after that phone call at 7 o'clock, and he said he was going to call me back when he got home, I haven't heard from him since.
Ooh, that's not good.
Well, I mean, not good, or is it good? Is it a blessing? I choose to see it as a blessing. I choose to see it as, because I had told him how things are just going great in my life right now, and sometimes I think that if other people don't match that, they don't want to be in your life. That's what I think.
Well, one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older and hopefully wiser is part of it is that you don't want people in your life that will cause complications, especially if you're on a good path and you're happy and you're productive. But even more important, you have to screen negative people out of your life.
Exactly.
And that goes whether you're single, divorced, in the process of getting divorced. Negative people have I'm a very big believer in energies and positive energy and negative energy. And you're a very positive person. And I think that's one of the reasons we get along, because it's not that you never come to me and say, Andy, I'm upset, or Andy, I have a problem. I know you're like any other human being, that you're going to have up days and down days. But it's not the way you are. Your general outlook on life is a very positive one. You always believe that things are good and they will get better. So you grab life, and that's something that's an important lesson for your listeners to take.
And do you think, though, that what I said about you have to match the people that you bring into your life?
Of course.
He doesn't match what I have in my life right now.
No.
I'm bringing in all these positive experiences, manifesting what I want. You know, I'm totally open to a relationship with someone who is free and clear, who wants to have a relationship with me, who isn't, what is this? I put it in, emotionally unavailable. That has been my history.
I've never heard that. That's very good.
Emotionally unavailable. That has been my history up until living here in Boca, that the men that I've attracted to myself have been emotionally unavailable. And there's nobody that's more emotionally unavailable than a man that's separated, still married, has stories about his kids that he's going through as well, right?
Before the internet, I remember reading on a dating website. I wasn't on the website, but it was a quote from a dating website. A woman had put up a post, and she was looking for somebody. She was post-divorce, and she was looking for a new life, a new relationship. And she said, and the last thing she wrote was, "Some emotional baggage, okay. Steamer trunks need not apply." So it's also, just like you are going to, with anybody that you're hopefully going to start a new relationship with, you're not just going to say, my life has been perfect. You're going to talk about the things that have hurt you and the things that have meaning and losses, and you're willing to accept another human being that way, as long as it's not going to be you becoming their therapist for the relationship.
And that's what Being Tracy, this show, is about. It's about conquering those moments in your life. And my sister always says, I'm Being Tracy's sister. You know, I can't be anybody else. I can only be me, and I can only say what's happened in my life, how I have reacted to it, and how, you know, I'm really happy with, I feel like I've risen above a lot, you know, to be here.
If you were trying to create a different person, it wouldn't work. Because no, seriously, it wouldn't.
Exactly.
It wouldn't feel real. It wouldn't be what you're thinking. It wouldn't be what you're feeling. It would be acting.
Do you think the universe was testing me?
It could be.
That's kind of the way I feel. That the more that because I went home after all my firm thoughts about not dating a man that's already married, but thinking, oh my gosh, but this guy was so amazing, you know. And I went home and he treated me so nice, and he treats his mom so nice. And then he also told me his ex-wife wants to get back with him. I said, well, you must have been pretty nice to her if she wants to get back with you. You know, but I mean, like, so then what I was listening to a podcast yesterday, so his ex-wife wants to get back with him. So they are a family. I heard a podcast yesterday say that. So what you have here is a family, and you're out here. If you've got someone that's separated and for whatever reason, you feel that they want to have a relationship with you, they have a family already. You're out here, okay? So that's just not the best place to be. Do you think?
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely not.
Anyway, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and read the Real Estate Minute.
Go ahead. Real Estate Minute. I love it.
Anyway, Dave Ramsey is the one that I was listening to this weekend, and he believes that if an individual or household has a few key financial considerations in place, relatively high interest rates ought not to be too big of a concern. He said, quote, if later the interest rates come back down and you're not stuck. He has said, according to The Street, just refinance and dump the old mortgage. If later the interest rates come back, if a potential home buyer does not have enough cash set aside for emergencies and is debt-free, Ramsey says it is a great time to buy a house. He said, sure, the interest rates and home prices are high, but they are only going to keep climbing. Ramsey Solutions wrote, and because interest rates are high right now, fewer folks are buying. That means, as I've said, you won't have too much competition when you make offers. Okay? It's never popular to move in the real estate business when the Federal Reserve decides to raise interest rates. But, Ramsey says, it's not the end of the world. This, as he says, this is still a great time to buy a house. You just might pay a little more than you would have a few months ago, Ramsey Solutions said. It's also a good time to sell a house. If you already have a fixed rate mortgage locked in, you're in good shape too. Don't listen to the doom and gloom, he said. That's all over the internet and in the news. Owning a home is still more than possible, and you still control your financial future. All right, so send and leave me a message. I can help find you someone amazing to help you with no matter where you are in the world. I've got a great team here with Keller Williams, and I'm here to help you with all of your real estate needs. My name is Tracy Bush Pate. Just give a call to the number on your screen, 561-245-4000. And my website, if you want to search for your property, is livingtracy.kw.com. And I'm here to help you. Andrew, please give your information on how my viewers can find you.
You can find me. My phone number is 786-942-5460. And my email address is kassiera@aol.com.
Please check that box, subscribe, like, post, share my podcast, and let me know if in the boxes below if there's anything in particular that you want me to share on an upcoming podcast, or if you have a great guest like Andrew that I can interview so that my viewers can learn more about how your friends can help more people through Being Tracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me as a guest. I had a
Thank
great
you for
time.
coming, Andrew. I love having you here.